Welcome to Subramani. How do you monitor your portfolio, which is a dividend oriented portfolio, which means you're trying to build your portfolio for your retirement. You want a full equity portfolio to live off the dividend. So how do you monitor the portfolio? I can tell you what I do. I look at the annual earnings for sure. And I also realize that once you have spent time knowing about the company, really quarter on quarter there is nothing new to know. So you will see the usual EPS and all that. You are worried about certain things which you actually see in the management discussion and analysis. Some companies get carried away and want to do everything under the sun and create a huge conglomerate. Obviously you understand the company which I am talking about. It was in the international scene, it was Enron. In the domestic scene, two companies which stand out in trying to do too many things and not doing them well are Larsen and Toubro and ITC. Then in such cases what happens is the misallocation starts and the misallocation can hurt. In some cases, the diversifications are very useful and it really adds to the top line and to the bottom line. Taking a call for the dividend investor is to know where to draw the line, and far more important is to know what line the other investors are going to take. So just because you think Larsen and Toubro and ITC are not allocating capital exactly the way you think they should, it does not mean it's a good sell. It just means that you have to be aware that these companies are not allocating capital very well. So therefore in the future ROCE and RONW could be impacted. So one is to know that. Second is to say, I will only look at the annual results. I really don't care about the quarterly results. That's a little difficult, but I have been able to do that by staying away from the media analysis of the quarterly results. Largely they don't understand what's happening, and I have had CFOs telling me that we really don't know what is going to happen on a quarter to quarter basis. TCS famously had said we will not give guidance. I think it makes sense for companies not to give guidance because it's very difficult to predict quarter on quarter what is going to happen. So largely, which means you will depend on the annual return, and if you are lucky enough to know the analyst or at least one analyst who is working on the company 365/7, the chances are they'll tell you something which you may never be able to find out on your own. For example, if there is a fight going on in the family about who should be running which company, you will know only from the analyst, because the analyst would have found out while talking to the management. Now this is not something which a retail guy needs to monitor. As long as you monitor the dividend and the fact that the dividend has been increased or decreased are positive signs. Don't go for any other sign. If you can't understand, which none of us can, unless after the event saying, oh, quality management was fighting so badly, I didn't know, I got lucky, I sold at a high price. After that the share price went down to $4, right? So these kind of things you will never ever know, and you should not bother too much, right? Now one way to make money in the equity markets is by staying calm. How can you stay calm if you're a dividend oriented investor? Is don't look at the price of the share. Look at the dividend that you receive on a year-to-year basis. If that is not changed, you don't have to worry. Having said that, definitely in the interim process, prices would have gone down because you didn't react to it. That's perfectly all right, as long as you think it will meet your needs of being a dividend-oriented investor and not necessarily a guy who's looking at the markets and trading on the basis of price volume relationships. Having said that, the dividends that you receive are also being invested in the same company, mostly in Indian conditions manually. You don't have a drip system where the dividends get automatically reinvested. So manually, when the money comes to you, you buy the share. Technically speaking, now when the money comes to you, a portion of that will go off as tax. So maybe for you it is 30% or 20%, whatever, that will go off. So if you receive 100 rupees, and which means only 80 rupees is available for reinvestment, right? Earlier there used to be DDT, so the company was paying 28% tax. Now you may end up paying 20% tax. So actually dividends have got less taxable now than it was earlier, though the normal assumption is, oh, we have now got to pay tax on dividends. Yes, you got to pay tax on dividends. Earlier it was being deducted and you were not even getting credit for that, right? So having said all this, if the equity share is not being upgraded, in the sense the dividend is not being increased or decreased, just take a call on what is to be done. Take the dividend, reinvest it in the same company, and you are done. The fact that you don't look at the price and you only look at the dividend will definitely make you calmer, because the dividend does not fluctuate as much as the price does, and dividend is something which you look only basically once a year. No company changes it on an hour-to-hour basis, so you don't have to worry about that. Just Having said all that, while monitoring your dividend, one more thing you have to see is, ideally if you are having 40 companies, you would want each company to be 2.5%. Now that is a great way to start, but going forward slowly some will become big winners and some will become losers, so you will not remain at that 2.5%. You have to then draw a line as to what percentage is allowed. Now either you go down from 40 to 30, and therefore each company would be about 3%, and slowly you say up to 10% can be in one company, or up to 15% can be in one company. Beyond that you don't want to, because you don't want too much of your dividend coming from one company, because if something were to happen to that company, or like the recent RBI diktat that a bank should not pay a dividend, then you could get hurt. Imagine if 40% of your income during retirement was coming from HDFC Bank. This year you will see a 40% drop in your income for sure, right? So when you're still young and you're in the investing stage, you should reinvest the dividend. Maybe there are two options. One is exactly back into the company in which you received. That is absolutely brainless. Anybody can do it. Or second, when you receive the money, you say, okay, among these 40 companies only I have to allocate. So instead of allocating to A, I will allocate to B. Now that creates a bias, because then you will say, oh, this company has become too big in my portfolio, so let me use that dividend somewhere else. That is when misallocation starts. So if we accuse a Larsen & Toubro or ITC of misallocation, then you will also be making this mistake of misallocation. But since you are doing it individually and you are not answerable, take a decision. The other thing which another friend of mine does is, all the dividends go into a pension plan of a mutual fund. So if all the dividend of his, he puts it into a pension plan, because he's only about 38 years of age, and he says, by the time I'm 60, I want to accumulate a decent pension plan which will become my annuity. That also works, but I do think I would rather buy the shares of the company from where I've got dividend. And if I'm not happy with the company for whatever reasons, I should just sell off that share and not worry only about the incremental purchase of 120 shares or 150 shares, right? I should just get rid of the original 2000 or 3000 shares that I have. That is exactly what I should be doing. Thank you.